I believe that the real pros are the ones who master themselves. Have you ever had one of those mornings where your quiet time turns into a full-blown download? That was me just a few days ago. I was sitting there reflecting on this new cohort for Mastery and Momentum, my high-level mastermind for women, and I just kept hearing the word mastery, mastery, mastery. And I tell you, it would not leave me alone. And most of the time, I know that when we hear people talk about mastery, we know that they're talking about skills, your skill set, how to perfect your craft, how to become the absolute best at what you do, how to become world class at what you do, how to collect the certifications, and maybe even how to climb that corporate ladder. But as I've been taking in the applications from this wave of mastery momentum and onboarding these new clients, I've just been asking myself deeper questions because I want to support them in going deeper. And here's the one I want to present to you today. In order to go pro in your life, what would it mean for you to actually master yourself? Because the truth is, we can have all the skill in the world. We can get all the recognition and applause from other people and still not feel peace in our own souls. So today I wanted to break down what I've been noodling on. And I did this first in the Redefining Wealth app. That's where I do my daily lives. And so I was flushing it out with the community there. And they said, Coach, this needs to be a podcast episode. So here we are. I want to call this the 3 levels of mastery: skill set mastery, self mastery, and pillar mastery. And I want to talk about how each one builds on the other to help us go pro in life. Now, for me, pro stands for purposeful. You know, I'm your chase purpose, not money girl. So purposeful, rooted, and obedient to what I am authentically called to do. And let's be real, you will never be able to redefine wealth for yourself when you're not clear on who you are, first and foremost, for yourself. So if you have still been going in circles and these cycles of confusion and what should I do and what do I really want, and you want to elevate with a clearer path so you can outlast this season, then that's what I'm diving into today. Now, as I've been doing this entire season, which is coming to a close soon, I'm dedicating this brilliant work of my girl, Rachel Luna. This episode, this season, this podcast is in her loving memory. And I'm going to reference some things from chapter, I think it's 10, Live Your Truth, in her book, Permission to Offend. We've also been reading this in the Redefining Wealth app together. My community has been hosting conversations around it. I love you guys so much. Thank you for leading and also just continuing on her legacy, which is what was important to me in this season, just to honor her brilliant work. But also in honor of Rachel, the affirmations that I typically do, we're calling permission slips this season. So let's jump into the permission slip for this week, and then I'll teach you about the first level of mastery. This week's permission slip is: I give myself permission to live my truth even when it challenges the room I'm in. I trust myself to honor what I know to be right for me. I give myself permission to reject advice that is not in alignment with my assignment. I commit to mastering myself so that my convictions can lead my choices. I am becoming purposeful, rooted, and obedient to my truth always. Declare with me today: I give myself permission to live my truth even when it challenges the room I'm in. Okay, so let's just jump in. The first level I call skill set mastery, which we've all heard of, right? This is the level that the world claps for. It's the easiest to measure, it's the most visible, and it is typically the most rewarded. So we grow up being taught that the way to prove our worth or to earn love, to earn money, to be recognized, to become more is to get the next certification, land the next opportunity, add another comma, earn another zero. And so when we start to deliver on that, people will applaud. And that applause feels good for a while. And a while can be defined for decades, years, months. But I believe that the more we start to do this work, that applause feels void. It feels like nothing. It feels empty, sooner, quicker, faster. Because living for that type of applause starts to feel intolerable to your soul. Because eventually you start to notice, right? You're getting the promotions at work, but maybe you don't have peace at home. You might be getting recognized for your performance, but you're not fulfilled by any type of deeper purpose. You're getting the external promotions, but you're missing that just internal peace and knowing I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, doing exactly what I'm called to do. And I don't have to convince anyone because I'm walking in conviction, right? Skill set mastery is celebrated because it feeds the system that thrives on us doing, not being. It's rewarded because it's predictable. That's why we all grew up hearing, go to school, get good grades, and then you'll get a good job. And then maybe one day you can retire and finally go on vacation. And we just all we all fell for it. Many of us, if you're a woman of a certain age, if you're a guy of a certain age, you know what I'm talking about. We fell for it. And so companies and schools and even family systems know how to applaud results. That's why people will say things when you say, I'm not comfortable here anymore. This doesn't feel good to me. People will literally say, just be grateful. What do you mean? Like you went to school, you got the degree, you got the letters behind your name, you have the office, you have the beautiful home, the white picket fence. What do you mean? You're not happy, right? Because they don't know how to value rest or peace or purpose or alignment. And getting applause from other people and feeling aligned in your soul are not the same thing. So, what keeps most of us at this surface level idea of mastery, listening to all the gurus online, listening to, reading the books, listening to the podcast, thinking that we need to be more and more and more productive before we can have peace, before we can experience prosperity in a different level, that soul level prosperity is why we feel stuck, even though we are at the top of our game. And some of the reasons I feel like we get stuck is, of course, external validation. Redefining wealth was built on the idea that wealth is so much more than just money and material possessions. The original 12th century definition of wealth is the condition of well being and happiness. And yet we seek to understand what should make us happy from external sources. What will my parents say? What does the world say? What does social media say? As opposed to just being genuinely happy and feeling well with what we say, what our soul says, right? So we lean into external validation and we start believing that we're only valuable when we're producing. The more we do, then the more we matter to them. But what about to us? For many of us, it's cultural conditioning. We were taught that busy equals important. We were taught that doing the most now means that you are worthy, right? We glorify exhaustion. We were taught that silence equals laziness. So we fill any space, every space, with more tasks, more learning, more proving. I looked at a young lady that I just started following recently on Instagram. Her name escapes me at the moment, but she was saying, you know what I love? Waking up and just being, doing nothing. And people in the comments were like, oh, I could never just sit there and do nothing. Why? Why? And I'm not judging you. I'm saying this to myself too. Why? I have to constantly remind myself that rest is productivity because when I'm rested, I'm showing up as my best possible self. And a lot of my best strategy actually comes from my soul when I am still, not when I am consuming other people's stuff. Because when I keep consuming other people's stuff, then it keeps me in this loop that I need other people's stuff. This is why I will take apps off of my phone. I listen to me, I listen to my soul. These episodes, these downloads, they come from within, right? Obviously, there's influence all around us, but I don't want to be consumed by that. We have such a fear of stillness. And I think that stillness, for many of us, feels like failure and being lazy and not being productive when we've only been rewarded for being in motion. But the truth is, you can get a lot of reward from being still. You just don't have practice in it. Because sitting still exposes the deeper questions we should be asking ourselves. And one of those is, do I even like the life I've built? Or have I become a prisoner to purpose? So having all this skill set without soul alignment is really survival, but it's applauded as if it's success. If it doesn't feel as good as it looks, you're not as successful as you're being applauded for. Mm. If it doesn't feel as good as it looks, you're actually not as successful as you're being applauded for, because we all get to redefine wealth for ourselves. And so, for my definition, I want the freedom to do what I want to do, how I want to do it, where I want to do it, with whom I want to do it, for how long. The only way I feel successful and wealthy is when all of that is true. If I am doing something I don't want to do just because it comes with a good paycheck, I don't feel great about it. If I'm around people that I don't want to be around just to keep up appearances or convince the world that somehow this is the ideal thing to do, but it doesn't feel good, what's the point? Right. And that's where so many of us stop, because we have learned that success is mastering our profession and still being miserable because we haven't mastered who we really are and what we really want. So yes, we got to keep developing our craft, right? Of course, I'm going to continue investing in the courses, in the coaching, in the programs, but not without self-mastery. Because skill set mastery without self-mastery is achievement without alignment. Eventually, something's going to fall off the rails. Eventually, it's not going to feel good. Eventually I'll be back in the same cycle saying, well, what is wrong with me? What am I missing? What's happening here? Because I keep getting more skills, and everything that I learn is not even really necessary to apply to my life. This is why I say we get to reject any advice that's not in alignment with our assignment. The people that we invest in, like as a coach, I always tell my clients, I'm going to share everything that I can to support you. It is up to you to filter out of all the skills that I might share with you, which ones actually align with your personality, your desires, your assignment. Just because you heard something, it doesn't mean it has to be for you. And so that's why so many of us stay stuck and we keep doubling down on the wrong stuff. And our soul knows it, but our ego wants to keep getting the applause. And so here we are, stuck at the most surface level form of mastery I believe there is.
Hey, podcast family, big news. I've just launched a game-changing app designed exclusively for you. It is officially the Redefining Wealth app with Patrice Washington. Now, all of my courses, coaching, live streams, and most importantly, my community are just a tap away, all under one roof. You can download the app now for seamless access to exclusive content and a vibrant community of purpose chasers from all over the world. This is the ultimate hub for all things Patrice Washington and all things redefining wealth. You can search for it in your app store or find the link at redefiningwealth.app. That's redefiningwealth.app. Do not miss out. Your journey to redefining wealth just got a whole lot easier. Download the app today and let's take this adventure of redefining wealth for ourselves to the next level together.
Now, here's what I call the second level of mastery. And I would say this is self-mastery. Now, self-mastery, I think, is where everything starts to shift. And I think we don't start to move into self-mastery until we have an awakening. So at Redefining Wealth, we have the 3 stages of redefining wealth. And the first stage is awakening. This is where we start to get off autopilot. This is where we start to acknowledge with radical honesty, I am unfulfilled. Something doesn't feel right. I'm experiencing a lot of frustration. And instead of trying to sweep it away because I should just be happy, I'm going to lean in. I'm going to understand that frustration is an invitation to take inventory. And I'm going to go in there and interrogate my life, deconstruct some things, and see what's happening. This is where everything starts to shift. And it is scary, which is why we do it together, right? But this is the level, though, where as you start to do those things, the applause gets quieter. Let me just put it out there now and let you know. When you start to do those things, the applause will get quieter because the awareness is getting louder. This is where people start to question your choices because they want to applaud for what was predictable. And you're throwing curveballs as you get to know yourself, and it's just different. It's different than what they've known you for. It's different than what they desired for you. This is where people start to say things like, why are you destroying your life? You're on the path of destruction. No, you're deconstructing. And when you are deconstructing, There's not always a lot of acceptance of that because it's different. This is when you start realizing, yes, I've mastered my job, I've mastered my career, but I don't feel mastered within myself. I don't honestly know what I really want at this stage. I don't feel like the dream that I dreamt 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago still applies, but somehow I'm still living in it. Self mastery is rooted in radical honesty. And it's not about fixing yourself, it's about understanding yourself. This is why I always tell people, especially people who are outside of the industry that I'm in, they're like, well, I don't understand why successful people need coaches. That's like saying you don't know why Michael Jordan needed a coach, or why Kobe Bryant needed a coach, why LeBron has a coach. Just because you have a lot of skill set and talent, it doesn't mean that you don't need an outside perspective keeping you aligned to the journey, to the dream that you say you have. All of those pro athletes still need someone who's like aware of where they may need to pivot or adjust or make small tweaks to get them towards the goal that they say that they have. And so if you say that your goal is alignment and you want to feel alive and you want to feel fulfilled and joy, and you don't want to wait until the end of your life to start living your life. You don't want to wait until after you retire at some point to start living your life. That is why we're here, is to support you in that, right? So it's about having support and seeing the patterns that just keep showing up, and being able to say, what is that here to teach me? This is where we stop outsourcing our worth and what we think it should be based on other people's ideas, and start reclaiming that internal wisdom, right? It's not about always what should I do next. Some of it is, who do I need to become in this season of my life? Who do I need to become to process what I am experiencing? Because you begin to notice that peace and pressure cannot coexist in the same space. Judgment and curiosity cannot coexist in the same space. Self mastery is where you start to realize your frustration is not here to punish you. It is literally an invitation from your soul to just pay attention, to just wake up, to get off autopilot, to ask some better questions. Self mastery is not glamorous. It's not full of applause. It's not full of like, you got it, girl. Hey, I'm so proud of you. It's not that. Self mastery is full of mirrors. It is holding up a mirror to what you have allowed, what you have accepted, what you have settled in, to the performances you have participated in. Self mastery is not, I went on that retreat in Peru or Bali that one time. Self mastery is a daily practice. Self mastery is you giving yourself permission to face triggers, to face insecurities, to question your habits, to question your routines and your rituals, and not from a place of, well, how do I get rid of this? Because that's what a lot of people do. We hear other people's daily rituals, morning routines. We see how other people live their lives, their relationships, and then we start to try to mimic what they are doing, and we convince ourselves that's the way, but that is not transformational change. That is very short-lived. This is why you feel like you're on a cycle of start, stop, or in these spirals of confusion. Like, oh, I thought I had it. That's because you change from the outside when the real transformation is changing from the inside out. It's not rushing to do anything. It's not rushing to get rid of anything. It's not rushing to try to adapt what somebody else is doing. It's about facing what you're experiencing and saying, what is this trying to reveal? It's the place where we start to really go deeply into radical honesty. I'm not as happy as I pretend to be. I don't feel as good as they think I look. I'm actually not as aligned as I thought I was. I just had this experience recently. That's why I always tell my clients, this is a process. We're always in the stages. We're always moving through, but because we have the stages, we know how to move through. That's why I developed the pillar assessment. It's to show people how to move through. Oh, I'm in awakening in this pillar of my life. What do I need to start doing to move through these stages so I can actualize something different? I had such a wake up call recently. And I share pretty much most of these things in the app because I do go live every day. So they're doing life with me in this season. But yeah, I had this moment where I'm like, I'm not as aligned as I thought I was. I was convincing myself that I was happy and content with something that I wasn't. And the thing is, even though my ego tried to keep me there, my soul would not let me rest. My body would not let me rest. My nervous system would not let me rest until I was honest about what my actual conviction was. This is the work. These are the levels of mastery. Self mastery is where your discernment grows and you start to be able to get there sooner, quicker, faster. You start to be able to not just be able to articulate or verbalize what's in alignment and what's not. You give yourself permission to feel it. Ugh, that feeling it is next level. And some of us are already feeling it. You're feeling it because you can't sleep at night. You're tossing and turning. You have a lot of angst. You constantly feel uncertain. People will say, oh, well, this person is diagnosed with this thing or the other, which I completely understand. But all of these things have a root. I understand, right? That we could be diagnosed with anxiety or depression or anything. I'm not making light of that. But I'm also saying some of these things, in addition to like chemically, right? They have a root. And we still have some things in us, around us, passed on through generations that I also do believe contribute to that. Some people have been stressed since childhood, chronically stressed. Their nervous system is a wreck. And so we could be saying that we want one thing, but we keep repeating scenarios that keep us in that familiar state, even when it doesn't feel good. Right. So self mastery is just, it's an opportunity to ask those questions. This is the level that helps you start to reject that advice that's not in alignment. Because when I can feel it in my body, I literally don't care what you say. If it's not for me, it's not for me. This is where we stop asking for that validation and we start seeking that confirmation from within. And the more we do that, the more peace we get to gain. And I think that many of us frame peace as if it's passive, but really to truly have peace, I feel like it's to own your power, to have control of your power. What do I get to do? Like recognizing how I feel, recognizing what I desire. You get more peace when you own that power. You're not led by every emotion. You're not reacting to every trigger. You're not responding with a lack of intention, right? You're not reacting to things, or I should say you're not reacting from a place of not having an intention. You are responding from a place of having full intention. And now you don't have to be as on guard all the time. That's what self-mastery is. It is emotional regulation. It is your own internal awareness, your spiritual awareness. It is knowing that you can trust yourself and actually believing that all things work together for my good, even this thing that doesn't feel good right now. And once you taste that kind of peace, you'll never settle for less. You'll never settle for doing the most to get the most from other people, but feel the less inside again. Self mastery needs structure. So you can be self aware, but still lack alignment. And if you don't know how to apply what you're learning, then this is where the third level of mastery comes in. And I call this pillar mastery. And pillar mastery is what we do at Redefining Wealth. And I'm so grateful for the download to create Pillar Mastery. It's going on 3 years now. And we've had several hundred clients, mostly women, go through that program. And to see how people can understand that self mastery, even when we hear that, is just rooted in so much self awareness, which is great, but also very different than soul awareness. Because when you are dealing with very intelligent people, when you're dealing with brilliant people, we know how to romanticize, intellectualize, normalize anything. We know how to tell any story we want to justify what we are experiencing. And so we look at it as this just big project, but really I believe the way to really do it is to get deep into the pillars. These are the parts of your life that are impacting your finances, your career, your vision, even when you're not thinking about it. This is what this podcast was founded on in 2017. The 6 pillars of wealth. right? And I believe that we need a structure that supports that self-mastery so that we're not trying to do everything at once, but we give ourselves an opportunity to truly have transformational change because we're going deeper in these smaller containers, right? It's how we go from, well, I know better, self mastery, which is what a lot of us say when we say we want certain things and we know what to do, but we don't do it. We're mad at ourselves because we say, I know better, but you haven't given yourself the charge to live better. Knowing better and actually living better are two different things. And transformation cannot just happen in theory, it has to happen through actual practice. This is why I always say clarity comes in the doing. So when I talk about that frustration, begging you, inviting you to take inventory of your life, it's through the six lenses of the pillars: fit, becoming your best self; people, creating relationships that matter; space, setting up your life to support you; faith, believing in something greater; work, living your life's purpose; and money is really about respecting what you already have, right? And so managing your resources wisely is how I typically say it. And so it's how you get to check your alignment in real time. So, like in the fit pillar, if you know that you've been restless, you're not sleeping, you're not eating, you're not moving, you're not taking care of yourself, you don't mentally feel well, something feels off, you get to start to lean into questions like, am I honoring my body as a vessel? Or am I treating it like an afterthought? Because if I say that I have a vision, it's my duty and responsibility to protect that vessel, both mentally and physically. I can't keep praying for things and then not taking care of the vessel that's going to help me execute the vision. I'm praying for things that I wouldn't be able to sustain if I got it today, right? In the people pillar, asking yourself questions like, are my relationships supporting or draining my purpose? Which is hard. It's a question I had to ask myself and be radically honest with just recently. Because whoever I'm in relationship with in any form or fashion, romantic relationship, partnership, friendship, anything, those relationships will either expand or contract my vision. And I will start to create stories, many of us do, to stick with the tribe, to play small, to dim my light, to allow certain behavior, to put myself on fire, to keep them warm, to keep them happy. No. So it's not enough to just say, oh, I have skill set mastery and look at me. Yeah, you also need some pillar mastery. You also need a way to ask yourself better questions in each one of these pillars. That is the work that we do. These are not judgment questions, they are awareness questions. Because how you are showing up in each one of those pillars is influencing your peace and how you do life. When one pillar is completely out of alignment, it does throw the others off balance. It is called systems theory. It is a real thing. Scientific, look it up. When you start implementing and changing and integrating things in one part of your life and one part of the system, other things start to change with it, right? So that's why it's not about, well, let me go fix my life. No, it's that we want to have more mastery over our pillars, and we get to the mastery through radical honesty, asking better questions, and giving ourselves an opportunity to integrate. Let me ask you, how do you know which part of your life is actually keeping you from the results you say you want? Most people guess, and then they wonder why they're still stuck. But that's why I created the Pillar Progress Assessment. It helps you identify which of the 6 pillars of wealth need your attention right now, so you can stop spinning your wheels and finally move forward in alignment. I also go deeply into the building blocks that build that pillar, so you know exactly what your next steps should be. Take the assessment now at patricewashington.com/pillar assessment. That's patricewashington.com/pillar assessment, or click the link in the show notes and get your next steps to greater authenticity, alignment, and abundance in order. Pillar Mastery, I created because I wanted to not only give people a greater sense of clarity, because I know we always feel like we're looking for clarity, but also a way to meet consistency. Because you can be more consistent with these routines, rituals, practices, new mindsets, new beliefs When you get in community, when you get the right coaching, and when you stop compartmentalizing your growth, this is about living holistically. All of these pillars come together to serve a vision. I always say the pillars are not these random things that you just do throughout your life. What the pillars are an ecosystem that protect the vision that you say you have. And when you find something faltering and you don't find yourself moving towards the vision with the intensity and the desire that you have, it's probably because there's some tweaks that can be made in one or more pillars. This is the work of well-being. When I said the original 12th century definition of wealth is the condition of well-being and happiness, this is the work that curates the well-being that leads to the happiness. This is the foundation of your wealth. It's not another job. It's not another degree. It's not another certification. And I know you're hearing that. You're like, girl, I need another job. I believe that. But what good is it to go into a job that makes more money and you still feel off? You still don't have peace. You're still unfulfilled. So you make more money, which is what most people do. And then you think that money is going to fill the void, and it doesn't. I've been doing this for many years now, and so many people are chasing elevation in their careers while their emotions, their health, their faith, their families, their finances are declining. That's not mastery. That is misalignment. That is imbalance. It is incongruent. It lacks harmony. It is not the goal. But when you start to live by the pillars, alignment and harmony are your portion, because then you start to see how your physical health does affect your focus, how your environment does impact your faith, how your governing decisions or boundaries influence your bank account. This teaches you how to move from living a chaotic life to a clarity, a life full of clarity and conviction. So this is not just a concept. This is a way of life that now many hundreds, if not thousands of purpose chasers have committed to. And I believe as we move towards closing, this is the fruit of mastery. It is the ability to go pro. Because when you truly master your craft, yourself, and your pillars, you become a pro. Like I said earlier, in sports, when someone has mastered their game, we call them a pro. They're a professional. They've put in the reps. They've gotten the coaching. They've shown the discipline. They've been consistent. They have the focus. Why do we only do that with work? Why do we only put the reps in and show discipline and consistency and focus with work? Oh, well, because that's how I make my money. But how you show up in your body is how you make your money. How you show up in relationships is how you make your money. How you show up in spaces is how you make your money. How you show up in faith is how you make your money. But we only consider going pro when it has something to do with a professional career. I believe that the real pros are the ones who master themselves. This is why we see how many basketball players, football players, baseball players, so many of them play. There's so many team members. And why is it that, with every generation, there's only about 7 to 10 names you can remember? It's not just the skill set. It's not just the understanding of the sport. It's the understanding of the person, the professional. And when I was doing the live in the app, when I first thought about this and I was getting all these downloads, I was writing all these words and I was thinking about all the words that begin with profit, prosperity, protection, provision, prolific, profound. Going pro means all of that for you in 2026 if you're willing to do the work of mastery at all levels. Going pro is available to you. The provision is available. Becoming prolific, not just to leave a legacy, but to live a legacy, to be more magnetic, to attract everything you say you desire, to be more profound in your thinking because you're making time to be still and you're discovering these distinctions. This is why I tell my clients in Mastery and Momentum, your desire to be a thought leader in your space will come from you being still, will come from you dissecting your own life. You are the project. I am the project because I'm willing to always dissect and reflect and look at these things. It's where the downloads come from. It's where the work comes from. And then I get to share and see how that impacts others. If it only changes me, well, then wonderful. That's great. But I know I'm onto something because of the results of the people I serve. So your mastery really is going to come from within more than you actually understand. So going pro means being present. It's not just showing up physically, but being present mentally, emotionally, spiritually aware, making yourself available to your own growth. Going pro is about protecting the vision, even when it's misunderstood, even when there is no applause, even when nobody else gets it. It means that you will choose your process in this season over the perfection that you believe other people desire. And my favorite, going pro doesn't require that you never fail. And that's what a lot of us are trying to avoid. When you feel like you're a master at something, you're afraid to fail. You're afraid to be a student. You're afraid to try something new. You're afraid to step out there. You're afraid to be made fun of. But how will you know unless you get out there and try? A requirement for going pro is not that you fail. Something that I used to always find so fascinating is how pro athletes, when you would look at their stats, and it would say stuff like, oh, they're 42% from the free throw line. I was like, 42% from the free throw line. That sounds like a fail. I'm thinking that these pro athletes who are making millions of dollars are 90%, 100%. No, they don't. They don't make every shot. But I know that they are considered pro because they're willing to take all the shots. You're going to miss 100% of the shots you don't take. But 42%, you're moving. It means you're failing forward. It means you're making some things happen. You're living life. You're getting curious. You're experiencing the highs and the lows, the ups and the downs, the peaks and the valleys, because that's what makes life exciting. It's a roller coaster ride. Mastery is not about never missing a shot. It's about knowing how to recover, how to get back down the court, get back down the field and do it again, but this time with more grace, more knowledge, more wisdom, more understanding of your opponent. True prosperity and freedom flows from that kind of mastery, because that's the kind that's rooted in peace, right? That's the kind that you feel good about. Even when it doesn't work out, you're proud because you know that you did it. When you live from mastery, when you are ready to go pro, you move with more conviction. And that is so magnetic. That's when you get the real fans. See, a lot of people have been applauding and they haven't even been fans. They've been a part of what's keeping you stuck in the same thing. They've been a part of you living the lie. The real fans that are cheering for you, they know you're not perfect. They're like, I love him though. I love her though. She's so authentic. She's so genuine. She's just living her life, doing what she needs to do. And when she fails, I'm going to be right here to clap for her and encourage her and have her get back up, because they see something in you that they desire for themselves. So they love that you're trying. Meanwhile, you're trying to hide that you need to try or pivot or start over or become a student again. We don't want to live from convincing. We want to live from conviction. That's what going pro is. You become a person who can sustain every blessing that you're praying for when you're willing to do all the work of mastery. So if you've been feeling stuck between who you've been or what you've been known for and who you're becoming, this is my invitation to you to go pro. Make 2026 the year that you go pro. Master your craft, absolutely. But don't forget about mastering you. Because when you do, the vision becomes clearer, the resources start to just appear, and life starts showing up for you in a way that is undeniable. This is where we get the flow from, where things just start flowing in. And as I close, I want to mention in Rachel's book, in Permission to Offend, that chapter on Live Your Truth, Rachel was at a mastermind. And I think this is why, this also started coming in as I was thinking about my mastermind, Mastery Momentum, which if you want to apply for the wait list, I will open the doors again in December for 5 people. So go to masterymomentum.com. But I was reading this, and Rachel was in a mastermind early in her career. This is before we became friends. And a coach told her that an idea that she had wouldn't sell. And she was like, really, I feel strongly about this. I know what I hear when I talk to my clients. And she really felt good about it, but she started to try to convince them that her idea was good instead of holding the conviction. Well, wouldn't you know, the same coach turned around, stole the idea, and did it, I think, some weeks later or months later. And I knew the story, but I had forgotten it until I read the book again. And I just shook my head because I've heard that story so many times. This is why I always tell my clients, reject anything, even from me, that's not in alignment with your assignment. Because you will know what's out of alignment when you know yourself. And of course, in the book, Rachel goes on to give all her frameworks, and everything she's been talking about has been leading up to this knowing, right? Of how to own your truth and be okay with offending someone, even if it's a mentor or someone you love. But the fruit of self mastery is alignment. It is that deep knowing of yourself. It is that powerful conviction that allows you to respect someone's opinion and not feel like anything about what you're doing has to change. I can respect you and not receive it. That's what I hear more and more from people who go through pillar mastery. When you know you stop abandoning your brilliance for somebody else's thoughts, ideas, and opinions. Like, you won't keep watering down your message to make them feel filled up. You won't keep apologizing for what you've been assigned to do. Living your truth, as Rachel says, is the ultimate form of mastery, right? So I hope that this blesses you. It's much more formulated than what I even shared when the download was fresh in the app. But again, we started with Skillset Mastery, the world's favorite level. They're going to clap for that. It's the place of promotions, applause, performance. It's the good stuff, but it's incomplete without self-mastery. That truth telling, that alignment, that emotional maturity, that emotional awareness. It's where the applause will start to fade off, but it's where you're going to grow and become your most powerful self. And then we landed on pillar mastery. And that's the structure that helps you live what you're learning. It's the system that actually supports your soul. So I want to ask a question. Which level of mastery do you believe you're living from right now? Like, which levels have you incorporated in your life? Are you being applauded for what you do by starving who you are? And is there a pillar in your life that's asking for your attention? Out of the 6 pillars I listed, fit, people, space, faith, work, money, is there one that's starving for your attention? And what would it look like to give yourself permission to give it some attention? If you're ready to live that way, I really do want to invite you to join us for Pillar Mastery. It is a self-paced course, but I believe that it'll help you live more intentionally, peacefully, and powerfully, because it's not a program, it's a path, it's a roadmap. It's how you get into a rhythm of mastering who you are and how you live. So visit pillarmastery.com. Don't say I didn't tell you. Don't say I didn't invite you. Visit pillarmastery.com to learn more. And just remember, as you go through this, it's not about perfection. It is literally just about understanding. I am working every day to continue to understand myself more and more and more. And in doing so, we're also connected. It allows me to understand my community and my clients more and more and more. And so I invite you to do the same. Go pro. It's time to master you. If you want to talk about this with us, come into the Redefining Wealth app. I'm still doing daily lives for another month and a half or so. December 15th or 14th will be exactly 365, and we'll have a celebration around that. But I invite you to come into the app. It's a beautiful community, purpose chasers from all over the world, completely complimentary, and you can download it on your Android or iOS device, or even join us on desktop. All right, that's it for me. Until next week, I want you to go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, earn more without ever chasing money, and of course, go pro. I'll talk to you later.